If you ever see a sleek black fin cutting through the water while you're in the ocean, don't assume it's just a dolphin, because you might find yourself face to face with the ocean's most intelligent and powerful apex predator, the orcas. The sun was still sharp that morning, cutting clean over the glint of the blue surface at San Diego SeaWorld. Late November, humidity low, the air crisp from a breeze off Mission Bay. A perfect day for an orca show, the sky without haze, the water smooth as glass except for the eerie churn from filtered pumps. The bleachers were half full, voices echoing under the metal roofing. Ken Peters stood at the edge of the performance pool, his wetsuit still dry, watching as 3 orcas circled the perimeter. At 29, Ken had been working with killer whales for years, developing a relationship with them that felt almost familial. Trainers called it trust. Biologists called it habituation. The distinction wouldn't matter until it was too late. "Looking good today, Kasatka," Ken said, dropping to one knee as the 20-foot female orca glided past. Her black dorsal fin sliced through the water like polished obsidian. Orcas are apex predators with complex social structures and problem-solving abilities that rival those of great apes. They communicate through a sophisticated system of clicks, whistles, and pulsed calls. The orca in front of him, Kasatka, weighed nearly 9,000 pounds. 20 feet long, black head broad, and scarred by life in tanks and in the wild before capture. Apex predator of the ocean. A creature built to ambush seals in the surf, capable of bursts of speed over 30 miles per hour, powered by a tail with explosive torque. Her teeth up to 4 inches, conical, designed not to slice but to grip, crush, and drag. Specialists later described orcas as wolves of the sea. Their bite force even now can't be perfectly calculated, but estimated to exceed 600 pounds per square inch. Their power not in carving, but in clamping till a body gives way. Trained or not, one bite can break ribs in half a second. There had been warnings. Trainers whispered that Kasatka had grown unpredictable, maternal, dominant, unwilling to yield to cues. She had refused to separate from her calf, Takara, in prior sessions. A handler watching from the rail even muttered, "She's off. Don't push it, Ken." He just smirked, pulled his wetsuit collar, nodded once, and stepped in. That's how it began. Peters slid under, hand out, signaling her to follow. She circled once, massive body turning with precision, eye locking on his, black marble eye, expressionless. For him, this was routine. For her, different. From her standpoint, this was intrusion into territory, alien signal pulses hitting the water. Orcas sense vibrations through bone conduction across their jaws. They feel a heartbeat from yards away. She would have read every quiver in his chest from oxygen struggle. She hovered, then closed distance. At the platform edge, he brushed her head, performed the standard act. She dipped, rose, but something built beneath. He ignored the delay in her response. He chose to stay in, to push one more command. And then it happened. The water fractured with speed impossible for human reaction. She lunged, seized his foot between her teeth. Audience screamed. The blast of movement sent water lashing the concrete steps. For half a second, no one processed it until the sound came. Delayed. A wet concussion against his body. She clamped down, dragged him under. Witnesses shouted, one voice cracking above the rest. "She's got him!" From the stands, it looked mechanical. A dark shape whipping sideways, white water exploding as the surface broke. Flesh caught between ivory, the jaw locked, teeth embedding into tendon. Then she pulled down, vertical dive, his body trailing limp in her grip like bycatch. She did not thrash. She dragged. Over and over. The clock ticked brutal seconds. First they vanished 6 feet, then 12, then 20. Audience members covered their mouths as bubbles broke. A child shouted for his mother. Trainers blew whistles, slapping the water surface, but she ignored it, doing what her kind has perfected for millennia: hold prey until lungs collapse. Each time she brought him up, his face broke surface for half a gasp, before he was yanked back under, leg twisted at angles not human. Onlookers said his jaw clenched against the urge to scream underwater. Whitened knuckles pressed against her rostrum, pushing futilely. His wetsuit leg tore open, blood smearing into the water column in ribbons. His words, when they came between gasps, sounded guttural. "I'm fine," half-choked. He wasn't fine. He was bleeding, his leg punctured to the bone. Kasaka dragged him again, rising fully breech-high before slamming him downward. A trainer on the deck screamed, "Let go!" But there was no control, only patience. The Orca worked him like a seal, submersion cycles stretching as his body weakened. When Ken surfaced again, he spotted the pool edge just feet away. Kasaka released his foot momentarily. He lunged for the wall, fingers scraping concrete. Before he could pull himself up, her teeth clamped down again. The tug-of-war continued for 77 seconds, an eternity, when fighting for your life. Somehow, Ken maintained his composure. When Kasaka surfaced near the slide-out area, he patted her gently on the head, a training gesture, and she released him just long enough for him to scramble onto the platform. Blood pooled beneath his shredded wetsuit as Ken dragged himself fully out of the water. His ankle and foot were mangled, flesh torn, tendons exposed. Yet the damage revealed something crucial. Kasaka had demonstrated precision rather than predatory intent. A killer whale capable of severing a human leg with one bite had instead applied calculated pressure. Paramedics rushed Ken to Victoria General Hospital as facility staff hurried visitors out of the amphitheater. Marine mammal specialists examined footage of the incident, noting how Kasaka had repeatedly allowed Ken to breathe between submersions. "This wasn't a predatory attack," explained Dr. Sarah Montague, marine mammal behaviorist. "If Kasaka wanted to kill, Ken would be dead. This was communication, albeit dangerous and potentially lethal communication." Ken Peters survived with severe soft tissue damage but made a remarkable recovery. He would later describe the incident not as an attack, but as a misunderstanding, a term that belies the terror of those minutes underwater. After the incident, staff found Kasaka's calf separated from her by a gate, a standard procedure during performances. Analysis of her vocalization patterns that morning revealed distress calls similar to those documented in wild orcas separated from their pods. Later, they'd find evidence clear as autopsy photos. Teeth had split his foot, like sharpened nails driven through steak. Indentations perfect in symmetry, matching the orca's jaw. The injuries showed restraint. She could have severed the limb, but she didn't. Ken still carries the scars on his foot and ankle. More significantly, he carries the knowledge that for those 77 seconds underwater, his life depended entirely on Kasaka's decision-making. Each time she allowed him to surface was a choice, not an accident. And here's the part few talk about. Kasaka lived for years afterward, still performing, still circling trainers. She would attack again 3 years later, grabbing another trainer. By 2017, she was dead, euthanized after illness. But for those who saw her on that day, the memory stayed raw. Trainers' hands trembled when they recalled the sound, the deep crack of jaws snapping shut on a human leg.